Hi guys! I'm back with another Genshin Impact video, and people are super hyped for Zhongli's banner rerun. Since I haven't seen that many updated Zhongli support guides out there, I thought I'd make one myself because he's one of my favorite characters. In this guide, I'll be listing down the recommended weapons, artifacts, team comps, and more to build Zhongli as an optimal burst support. I will not be going over building Zhongli as a physical main DPS, so please remember to keep in mind that this is a sub-DPS or support guide. First of all, weapons. For free-to-play options for a support Zhongli, I recommend the Prototype Star Glitter. This weapon does not have that useful of a passive, but the secondary stat is very useful for support Zhongli as it has energy recharge. Energy recharge is really helpful if you're not running Zhongli in a double geo comp, as he still has issues generating particles for himself. For other good 4-star options, there's sadly either Bard because of the gacha or the battle pass. In terms of gacha weapons, the Lithic Spear, if you were able to nab that from the previous weapon banner, is a good option for support Zhongli, especially at high refinements. Even though this weapon has attack percent as a secondary stat, the passive is still very good. You get 3% crit rate and 7% attack that stacks up to 4 times the more Liyue characters you have in your party, for a total of 12% crit rate and 28% attack at R1. Overall, this is a fantastic weapon for sub-DPS or support Zhongli. Another good gacha option is the Favonius Lance because of the energy recharge from the secondary stat. Also, the passive helps to generate particles for Zhongli since, once again, he struggles a lot to generate particles when by himself. If you don't have another polearm, do consider using this on him as it helps Zhongli's burst to be ready off cooldown. Another good weapon option is the Deathmatch, which is the polearm you get from the Battle Pass. Even though it has low base attack, the Deathmatch has a great secondary stat, which is crit rate. This means that you can build for more crit damage, and the passive is very useful in all situations. Overall, if you can afford the Battle Pass, this weapon is a great option if you don't have any 5-star polearms. Moving on to 5-star weapons, all of the 5-star polearms are very good on a burst support Zhongli due to having high base attacks and generally very good passives. I'd say the best out of the 4 though for support Zhongli is either the Staff of Homa or the Skyward Spine. For the Staff of Homa, you get crit damage as a secondary stat, and the passive gives 20% HP and attack buffs according to Zhongli's max HP and if his HP is below 50%. This is a very strong weapon for Zhongli that makes his burst hit like a truck and is arguably his current best in slot. In terms of Skyward Spine, this is a fantastic 5-star polearm for Zhongli because of its high base attack and the fact you get energy recharge from the secondary stat. Also, from the passive, you get 8% crit rate, which is a nice bonus. In any case, if you don't have Staff of Homa or Skyward Spine, but you do have, say, the Primordial Jadewing Spear or Vortex Vanquisher, please still use it on Zhongli. These weapons are still very viable for him as a burst support. And now it's time for the toughest part of building any character, and that's artifacts. There are a few ways that you could build Zhongli as a burst support. For the most balanced way to build them and easiest to farm for, I recommend running 2-piece Noblesse Oblige and 2-piece Archaic Petra. You get 20% increase in your elemental burst damage from the 2-piece Noblesse set, and 15% geo damage bonus from the 2-piece Petra set. This lets Zhongli have 90% geo damage bonus at level 90 and with level 20 artifacts, and overall this is a great build as you only need 2-piece sets rather than a full 4-piece set. Another viable artifact build for a support Zhongli is running him with a 4-piece Noblesse Oblige set. This is a great set if you're not running 4-piece Noblesse on another character, and is overall a good option if you're also running Zhongli with an energy recharge weapon, such as Skyward Spine, Favonius Lance, or the Prototype Star Glitter, as you can spam your burst a lot more and benefit from the 4-piece Noblesse passive. Another build you could potentially run for support Zhongli is the 4-piece Tenacity of the Millelith set. Even though this set isn't in the game yet as of making this video, it does seem to be tailored for Zhongli and will most likely work really well for him. I'm still recommending this set as the 2-piece passive gives 20% HP and the 4-piece set increases party members' attack and shield strength for 3 seconds. For main stats, there's generally 2 ways that you could go to build support Zhongli. For a more tanky build that's low effort and gives strong shields, you can run HP % on the Sands, geo damage bonus on the Goblet, and an HP % on the Circlet. Keep in mind though that you'll be lacking damage in your burst and skill, but overall it's still easier to get these main stats. For a more balanced way to build Zhongli that gives decent shields but also decent damage on his skill and burst, you can run HP % on the Sands, geo damage bonus on the Goblet, and then crit rate or crit damage on the Circlet, depending on what you need more. If you want Zhongli to actually deal a good amount of damage, I recommend building for 50% crit rate and 100% or more crit damage. If you're wondering why I recommend an HP % Sands rather than an attack % Sands, this is because the damage between the two in terms of burst damage is pretty similar, and you don't lose out on much using an HP % Sands. Also, it's overall much easier to get an HP % Sands than an attack one. If you'd like to see the actual math behind this, another YouTuber tested out the differences between using an HP % Sands and an attack % Sands for burst support Zhongli, which I'll provide a link to in the description below. For substats, the best substats for Zhongli in order of priority are crit rate or crit damage, energy recharge, HP %, and then attack %. Crit rate and crit damage speak for itself. Energy recharge is extremely useful for Zhongli, as once again he has a difficult time generating particles for himself despite his burst only costing 40 particles. HP % is great as your shield and burst do partly scale off of HP, and a bit of attack is still helpful as Zhongli's burst also still scales off of attack as well. Okay substats for burst support Zhongli are flat HP, flat attack, and then elemental mastery. Flat HP and attack aren't as good as their % counterparts, but they're still okay as substats. And then elemental mastery is okay, but almost a bit bad on Zhongli, as all it does is increase the strength of the crystallite shields that he makes through his stone steel pillar. The avoid at all cost substats are defense % and flat defense. Just try your best to avoid these substats as they don't benefit Zhongli at all. In terms of talent level priorities for burst support Zhongli, generally you want to prioritize your burst first, then your elemental skill, and then your normal attack. In all honesty, if you're low on resources, you don't need to level Zhongli's basic attack at all with his support build, and you can save resources for other characters. For constellations, you absolutely do not need any for Zhongli to be good. After 1.3 buffs, Zhongli does so well even at C0, although his C1 does give him another pillar that can help give more damage, but it isn't necessary. He does get more helpful in co-op with C2, as you can give party members a Jade Shield, and he gets very strong though at C4, as his Petrify effect is longer and burst AoE is larger. But again, I have to stress that you don't need any constellations on Zhongli, and I personally have Zhongli at C0, and he does more than enough for all of my teams. Moving on to team comps, Zhongli shines the best in double geo teams, as double geo teams solve Zhongli's particle issue, and geo resonance is just very strong. Also, if the other geo character paired with Zhongli can create constructs, Zhongli's stone steel or his E can resonate geo to any construct for a bit of damage. The best units to pair with Zhongli are Ningguang, Albedo, or Geo Traveler. Noelle can work at least for geo resonance, but keep in mind that you won't benefit from Zhongli's elemental skill passive, as Noelle cannot generate any geo constructs. For specific team comps, because Zhongli is a support, he can be paired with basically any main DPS. So remember, it's up to you who you want to pair with him and who you have built. I can only give a few examples of team comps, but I will at least go over team comps for each of the geo pairs I have mentioned earlier. A free-to-play approach for a double geo comp for Zhongli can be running Zhongli and Geo Traveler together, and the last two are fill for whatever you need. For this example team comp, I have Shanling as main DPS, Zhongli as sub DPS, Geo Traveler as support, and Barbara as healer. Zhongli paired with Geo Traveler is very good, as Geo Traveler creates constructs with their elemental skill and burst, and Zhongli's pillar can resonate Geo to those constructs. The result is a lot of free damage out on the field to help support your main DPS. In this case, this is my Shanling, and you once again benefit from Geo Resonance and the buffs that Zhongli's shield provides. He lowers the elemental resistance and physical resistance of opponents by 20%. Another team comp that you could potentially run is by pairing Ningguang and Zhongli together, and the rest can be filled for whatever you need. For an example team comp, I have Ningguang as main DPS, Zhongli as sub-DPS, Shanling as support, and Bennett as healer. This is a very viable and strong team, and I personally use this team comp for clearing the higher floors of Spiral Abyss. The double Geo double Pyro Resonance makes Zhongli's burst hit like a truck, and you generate so many particles from the double resonance that you'll have Zhongli's burst usually off cooldown. Zhongli also helps to protect Ningguang with his Jade Shield, and this pillar resonates with Ningguang's wall for a bit of extra damage. My favorite Geo pair is running Zhongli and Albedo together, and the last two are again fill for whatever I need. I usually put in any of my main DPS I use, such as Ganyu, Tartaglia, or Keqing as the main DPS, and then Zhongli acts as sub-DPS, with Albedo as support, and again using any healer that I have, such as Chi-Chi, Bennett, or Diona. This is a not so free to play double Geo team, and I use Tartaglia as main DPS, Zhongli as sub DPS, Albedo as support, and Bennett as healer. This is a double Geo team that relies on vaporize reactions. What Zhongli does for this team is that he increases my main DPS's damage through his shield, as Zhongli's Jade Shield lowers the enemy's elemental resistance and physical resistance by 20%. Also, Zhongli is paired with Albedo, and Albedo helps generate particles for Zhongli with his elemental skill. Bennett is also there to help buff the team overall with his burst, and pairing Zhongli with Albedo is just a very powerful combination and definitely one of my favorite pairs to run. However, if you don't have another Geo character built, Zhongli can still work in a variety of team comps as a burst support and for crowd control, but just keep in mind that you'll lose out on a lot of benefits pairing Zhongli with another Geo character provides. And that's it for this video. This is just a very short, brief guide to support Zhongli, but I still hope that it was helpful for you if you're considering building him or pulling for him. If you are pulling for him on his rerun banner, best of luck to you. I hope he comes home. And yeah, thank you so much for watching and for all of the support for the channel. I'll see you next time. Bye bye!